Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, Jill and Becky. I think you're the only two that are watching right now on Facebook. That would be Maida Montana on YouTube. Very strange goings on with this live stream tonight. I've tried about several times to get this up and running on YouTube, and I'm supposedly simultaneously broadcasting right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. However, for love or money, YouTube won't allow me to stream, and I'm not showing up. Now, I'm unaware if I've got any community strikes or anything like that that is preventing me from uploading or going live on YouTube right now, but there seems to be some kind of issue going on there with that. So as we are kind of simultaneously broadcasting to Facebook and hello Judy Bell, Facebook, Twitch and YouTube, which we're actually not broadcasting to, it would seem. Hang on, let me remove this. Hello, how are you? We are going to go live, I guess, on Facebook for a change, even though there's almost nobody watching. But the YouTube issue is extremely extraordinary because in the last week or so, actually in the last 4 or 5 days, I've done 3 live streams on YouTube and also simultaneously on Twitch, and today is the first time I tried to go live on all 3 platforms. And before I did go live, I was just having a little chat with you guys, as you know, but for anybody who's watching that isn't part of the admin crew right now, which I don't think there is, we were having a little chat and I said that I feel very apprehensive and almost like something is gonna go wrong. Now, for the last 30 minutes, I've started and stopped the stream trying to get it on to YouTube. And hold on a second. Can I change? No, I can't change my camera direction in the middle of this stream for some reason. But what I can do is turn the camera around. So there's me looking at you. So if I go over here, we should also be live on a TSP TV on YouTube, but if we press refresh, nothing's coming up. Now again, I don't know if or not you can see this. Hang on, let me do it off air. So again, we're here on YouTube. There's my channel. Refreshing it, not showing up. Go over here, my channel. Again, not showing up as being live, but as you can clearly see here, we are live on Facebook. All right, so something somewhere somehow, I believe, is causing me to be prevented from broadcasting on YouTube. Now back to those streams I was talking about just prior to getting distracted and showing you the computer there. The first one I did, which I think was on Saturday night, which was a little bit of an unannounced. I just dived into it before I put myself off doing it, and actually turned out really, really well. We had a good show, and that was the first time I simultaneously streamed on Twitch and YouTube, and actually gained a couple of viewers from the Twitch stream, which provided some great content and feedback. But that stream, after I uploaded it, within 30 minutes of finishing it, I got an email from YouTube saying that it had been removed for copyright purposes. Although I didn't get a strike, and it said nothing would affect my channel. It had been blocked from being viewed due to copyright reasons. Saying I've got 2 people watching, but I can see that there are 3 of you commenting, but never mind. Anyway, Sunday night I did another live show, and the all new live show experience that you may not have experienced yet on YouTube. I kind of put together a little bit of a presentation, that way it stops my mind wandering, gives me a chance to interact with you guys in the chat, and also keeps me, my mind's a little bit not in the right place at the minute, and it wanders from one way to the next with any given click of a finger. But pre-recording stuff gives me a chance to sort of put a little bit more of interesting content. You don't just see me talking over and over and over and over again, or the hands waving around, and makes it a little bit visual, maybe a little bit enjoyable. But I put together a presentation on Sunday night about Project Bluebeam, a series of videos I have been putting up on YouTube. If or not you've been paying attention to those, who knows. But Bluebeam is something that I have been paying particular attention is to a possibility, or maybe even a probability, these events of the COVID-19 pandemic are a big cover screen for something else, and it's a very, very big misdirection. Everybody's sort of concentrated on vaccines or wearing masks, not wearing masks, and not really paying attention to almost anything else. And you know, there's been some strange events in the sky, but part of Bluebeam's that's been part of my ongoing content over the summer. But back to that video on Sunday night that I was partially way through the stream in the first instance. I got to this part of the presentation where I had some clips, recent clips from the last couple of months of UFO sightings. And within that stream, pop, it just poofed me out of my app, ended my stream, didn't cancel me, nothing. It just pretty much took me out of the application that I was using on my phone and put it back to my home screen. You know, when you press back, you've sort of been in, you know, you use your app, you press back, and then you go back, the app closes down. That's what happened. Shut my stream down completely. Not only that, my computer turned off in the process. Like, it was boom, boom, boom in quick succession. My computer went down, and also I have a TV that I have a Chromecast attached to it, and that way I cast my screen to the TV, and I can kind of keep an eye on comments and stuff, and also sort of look how the stream is looking. That shut down. So all my communication in electronics and technology shut down. Luckily enough, I managed to sort of go away, do a little bit of fast on the ball editing, and got that stream up and running, and kind of managed to continue in 2 parts. And again, both of those streams were kind of successful in the interaction and in sort of how they were put together. However, that stream also, boom, cut down in the middle of, well, I kind of got to the end of it. I mean, we're nearly 2 hours, but just as the point I was getting to wrap that stream up, same thing happened. It shut down, computer shut off. Although the Chromecast didn't reset itself, my telephone and my computer turned themselves off, and then funny enough, the computer turned itself back on. So is this artificial intelligent mind control censorship? How deep does this go? And now, in regards to the content I'm making today, or was hoping to be, well, will be bringing you, is part of this presentation, even though it seems that there are some YouTube issues. We are still on Twitch, we still are on Facebook. We haven't done a Facebook live feed in a very, very long time, so maybe some of you that follow me on Facebook that are totally unaware that I have a YouTube channel, and there are some of you, even though there is a TSP TV Thrift Fam Clubhouse, there are a lot of people in that group that are unaware that it is designed to be a little bit of a clubhouse for the people that watch my YouTube channel, and a place for them to hang out when they're not hanging out in the live shows. But anyway, the content of tonight, yeah, we can see you, Nancy, hello there. You make it everywhere, but we are experiencing some issues, as I said, with the YouTube stream this evening, and also looks like we've got some issues with Twitch. So if or not this is a technical issue because of the Prism app that I use to stream. It's a third-party app that overlaps YouTube and stuff, and it gives me the ability to do things like I'm doing with the presentation, as well as kind of put like graphics and things in. Let me show you. For those of you watching on Twitch, Thrift Store Prepper, so I can do stuff like that. And if or not, where are they? The good old shit video production tumbling turds. There you go, guys. Can't say that that wasn't worth tuning in for at all. But anyway, the issues that I've been having, I don't know if they are a result of the app itself, maybe something to do with simultaneously broadcasting on free platforms. Maybe it's something to do with Facebook and YouTube. Both of these have some very strange kind of updates to their platforms recently. My Thrift Store Prepper Facebook account, I can only post on my page. I can't share to any groups or anything, even groups that I'm the admin of. I can't post anything to. So is YouTube also undergoing some censorship? Is there something going on in the world right now that YouTube shut down to prevent people reporting on? Have a little look on your news feeds, do some searching if you want, and see if you can find anything that is occurring around the world right now that might be causing some technical difficulties. But as we did see, let's go back and have just another little look at the computer. Let's go over again to the Thrift Store Prepper YouTube channel. Nope, still not showing up as going live there. So very, very extraordinary. And actually, do you know what I can do just to show you here the beauty of having two phones, multiple platforms? You can see on the screen, I just put on my Facebook right now, although don't jump out of the stream to go and look at it, but you can see that it is casting. It does say on my screen that I am casting to YouTube, even though it isn't showing up on YouTube per se. But anyway, where was I going? So tonight's content, again, which also is making me think and wonder if or not there is a reason why YouTube is blocking this stream before I even get a chance to put it up there, is because it is a little bit about social media mind control, some of the electronic weaponry that they are using against us or have used against us, and just a little bit more on memetics, which is the sort of study of how life evolves through the series of mimicking behavioral patterns. And memes are something now that right now on Facebook, apart from this stream that you may be watching on Facebook, I'm pretty sure if you scroll up and down your newsfeed right now, you will encounter multiple memes in sort of over the course of this pandemic. Since it started, I have really seen the rise and increase of memes on Facebook being shared backwards and forwards, sort of promoting both sort of arguments, anti-maskers or maskers, and these are kind of tools of propaganda. But who's propagating these memes? Where do they come from? Who's financing them? And what exactly memes are something you need to understand. And maybe memetics is, although it is a study of how behavioral patterns spread amongst humanity and through different cultures, memetics is also applied within social media feeds. The exact same principles of advice are applicable, right? That when you see a meme and you see that meme and you copy and share that meme, what that meme is in fact done is it's replicated a thought from the origin and source. So maybe that's a propaganda machine from the social, the industrialized military complex, and they have an ideology that they want shared or enforced on society. So they plant it within a quirky little meme and then plant it out there, and bearing in mind they have all the information and data from you that they've received as a result of your interactions on social media to target designed propaganda that will trigger an exact desired response in a certain demographic. So all of this media I've been putting together on my phone, right? And my phone is an artificial intelligent robot that is a data collection. That's what it's designed to do, is collect my data and then run that through various algorithms in order to design targeted advertising or content or narrative. And I do believe that through my YouTube activities and some of the content that I do cover on that channel have become a targeted individual. I don't mean by that the National Security Agency or the CIA or the FBI have got a pizza van across the stream and there's a SWAT team waiting to descend from a Black Hawk helicopter above me, but it does mean that I've targeted the artificial algorithm somehow or some way for content that I put up there, and as a result is that artificial intelligence targeting me as a result? Is it censoring me? Is it kind of somehow because it knows what I'm feeling or doing, or sensing because I sometimes text people while I'm working on my projects, ask for a little advice maybe? The artificial intelligence is collecting this data, and is it using that data as a weapon against me? And is artificial intelligence and is social media collecting your data to use that as a weapon against you? Is the purpose and part of the presentation tonight, that hopefully maybe the information involved in it will give you a little bit more of an understanding on how exactly social media may be impacting your life. Well, hey Gracer, we're having some YouTube issues, darling. YouTube is shutting me down. Hello Twitch, we do got some people watching on Twitch as well, so I was trying to do a multi-platform stream tonight as we do continue to strive to improve things at the at the thrift store here, and certainly with these little live shows and presentations, although they haven't exactly been glitch free, the last couple I have done have been quite fun and a little bit enjoyable with the new look and the presentations and stuff like that. So without any further ado, let me move you over and get tonight's presentation in order. And maybe wait, something's happened. We've got an issue, video only mode. I'm trying to get tonight's presentation ready for you. There it is, okie dokie. So a couple of, and it's actually glad that you're here, Gar or Kali Ninja. It's weird kind of having you on Facebook, so some of you guys have different names on YouTube and don't often do Facebook live feeds. And you can also see there that there is a spelling mistake, my bad. That's also another little issue for topic of discussion, how artificial intelligence might be tinkering and fucking with us, because sometimes, you know, we have predictive text within our phone, and when we're typing messages or emails, the words pop up before we type them, right? And again, this is a little bit of artificial mind control or electromagnetic mind control going on there. It's kind of choosing your words for you so you don't have to, and this is again the danger of memes. They are placing thoughts into your mind that may not be exactly accurate. But both Judy Bell and Gar and myself over the last few weeks have experienced some very, very similar symptoms in sort of feeling very, very lethargic, very, very tired, kind of I guess not really very social, wanting to sort of interact or be around people, stuff like this. And is this also a result of electromagnetic interference with our minds, and is the reason, you know, maybe some of us are feeling more anxious at the moment, a result of electromagnetic interference to our natural bodily functions? But anyway, let's crack on with the presentation before people pay too much attention to the spelling mistake. But there is a very popular meme that you possibly will be aware of, and it was saturated in news feeds back in the earlier part of this year. So hopefully this works. Let me know. Hopefully you got some volume. Let me know if you do. And was saturated.
don't make errors. What they do on purpose. By now, your name and particulars have been fed into every laptop, desktop, mainframe, and supermarket scanner that collectively make up the global information conspiracy, otherwise known as the Beast.
Hey guys, so welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed that little bit of a musical breakdown. I do find that sometimes a little bit of music does clear and clarify the mind and give us a clear perspective of moving forward. The relaxing, trancy dance beats also put you in a little bit of a relaxing mode. That's if you have a little bit of a puff while you were watching that. You might be very relaxed now. And of course that was followed by the immortal Dale Gribble, Arlen, Texas' favourite conspiracy theorist from the popular TV show King of the Hill. We expect some of our Texan viewers might be quite fond of that particular animated piece of television satire. But anyway, Dale Gribble is a little bit of a conspiracy theorist and had some radical ideas. And we heard him there talking about how computers still not make mistakes, and how every last little piece of information you've typed into a computer is now in the control of the Beast. And he's kind of referencing that the Beast is the kind of data collection beast, I suppose, that all social media is really designed in terms to hide. That's what social media platforms do. They take, they steal our data, they sell it on to high-tech corporations, scientists, tech giants, stuff like this, and they look how they can steal away your time from conducting your own personal activities, maybe things and habits and behaviors you should have before you immersed yourself within social media and inadvertently subjected yourself to the mind control that it is designed to perpetuate. But anyway, as we said there, that was from Dale Gribble. That was a time in a not so distant past where sort of social media wasn't really a sort of concept as of such, and many of us were unaware of the data collection agencies that were being hide under the guise of social media platforms. But we're here in 2020 now, and social media is one of the unifying human behavioral patterns, and we have already spoken just recently, a few days ago, in fact, in a live show about memological warfare and how memes, the popular contemporary pop culture little graphics and tech that seem to be shared around on social media platforms are pretty much all you see right now on social media platforms. And the principles of social media memes that we are also too familiar about also have its roots from memetics, which is a study of human behavioral patterns where life mimics life. For example, wearing earrings is such. Many ladies and many guys, we wear earrings, but that's not something that we necessarily thought of ourselves. That wasn't an independent thought, that was a memetic thought. It was something that we did in other people who wear earrings and have piercings. So that is one simple example of memetics in how memes in modern days are in fact mind control. They are controlling the minds of whoever receives them. They are designed to titillate and appeal to certain demographics. In this share culture, we were led to believe that social media was a great thing, so we could sort of share our pets, our lunches, our thoughts and our opinions. But what we're really doing, and what has really happened with social media, is we've become tools of the militarized industrial complex propaganda machine, and that of course are what is used to deploy the tactics, the narrative and the ideology of the elites. So they're trying to push us towards one world order. Now, will or not that one world that we will be living in be a virtual one or a physical one? Who knows? Remains to be seen. Topics possibly for another day about being pushed towards technological singularity where humanity and technology are immersed as one, sharing symbiotic relationships. And what we are seeing now with social media is the birth of the symbiotic technological dependency, and how we spoke about in memological warfare
was how society has been reduced to dopamine addicts, and nearly everybody who has social media, myself and you included watching me right now, we have a certain level of dopamine dependency. And just like there are people who may be able to enjoy a glass of wine or a couple of beers while watching the game with friends, or may be able to have a few joints to calm the nerves of an evening and help them relax, there are also people who just can't stop drinking, or can't stop putting needles in their arms, or can't keep the pookie twisted from 2 to 10, 24/7, 365, right? And levels of addiction do depend on the individual, and I do know myself, I've had addictions in habits in the past, as well as some of you guys I'm all too aware of. But anyway, social media now is something that is proving to be an addiction for many people, and it is influencing and controlling the minds of people without them knowing. And sort of brainwashing and mind control tactics really are very prominent in how the COVID-19 pandemic lie is being perpetuated. We've been divided in the hoaxers and the non-hoaxers, the people that believe COVID is real, that wear masks, follow all the social distancing, self-isolation, all this kind of stuff. And these people have probably isolated themselves in home, complied with what they are being told, in sort of following along with a little bit of blind faith. And this is probably a result of how they have been divided in the hoaxers and the artificial intelligence, and how things like memes have changed the way they thought, think, act and behave. But anyway, this also is an article, as I was saying, from 2011, and this was sort of a time when really still social media was a little bit in its infancy, although it was sort of kind of at the birth of this explosion. For a few years prior to that, we had things like MySpace was very popular, and before people used to Google, they used to ask Jeeves or go to yahoo.com, but sort of somewhere in around 2008 or 2008, and between sort of then and 2010, 2011, Facebook took over and kind of was the one and only place that anybody went to on the internet, and sort of even personal websites and things like this. Even companies that have their own websites, they don't really get the traffic that they do with their Facebook stats. So everybody sort of somehow come on to Facebook, and then not long after sort of everybody was jumped off Facebook, we saw the introduction of things like Twitter. We also saw Instagram in recent years, Snapchat and stuff like this, and they're all kind of essentially carbon copies of each other, but they are all platforms that are designed kind of to target certain individuals and certain demographics. And a little bit what I've spoken about over the past in regards to things like Manchurian Karens are certain platforms that we pay more time on than others. So for example, if you're somebody that spends a lot of time on Facebook, maybe you might really enjoy cat videos, for example, and maybe if you spend more time on Twitter, you might be more inclined to watch Anthony Bourdain documentaries. Just examples. I'm not saying this is. I'm just giving you some kind of reference point. And maybe if you spend a lot of time on Instagram, you might be somebody who likes taking a lot of selfies. Now, selfies is a very integral part of the mind control, and also the introduction of the narcissistic behavior that is involved about how sort of social media revolves, about the more sort of details and information and data you give about yourself, be that facial recognition information, or your personal passwords by conducting silly little surveys about your favorite movie, your favorite food, what your first pet's name was, what your mother's maiden, all this kind of stuff. These things are all sort of targeted in one way or another to remove you from as much data and information as you can, and then that gets stored in the artificial intelligence device that we carry in our palm of our hands, that then runs all that information through algorithms in order to target the exact desired content that it wants you to think. In our certain platforms, targeting certain demographics and programming them with certain directives and information or propaganda, a little bit kind of like Huxley's Brave New World, where we had the alphas and the betas and the I can't remember them all now, but there are 5 levels of humanity, and they are all kind of bred specifically for certain purposes within society. And this is a little bit why I'm making reference to social media programming people into certain behavioral patterns, and maybe within that sort of social media platform they will then sort of control 2 sides of a narrative, and there's always a duality, red and blue, left and right, red pill, blue pill. There's always a duality in the illusion of choice. But anyway, back in 2011, this was an article that came out by a guy named John Rampton, Social Media Mind Control. And back then, again, this would have been very, very outlandish, just like Dale Gribble claiming that the computers were stealing and stockpiling all of your relevant information. But anyway, let's crack on. This is actually quite a nice little visual presentation. There's not too much words, there's actually pictures. For some of you that enjoy pictures, we're going to be getting into that almost immediately. So as you sit there slogging away at the social networks, has something titillated your brain? Have your senses been tweaked, alerting you to some unseen element? You may be an unwitting victim of social media ruining your mind. And we sort of mentioned how sort of reactions and emojis and thumbs up and stuff like that might be the element that draws your alerts your senses and draws you to a particular piece of information that you have encountered on your news feed. That's right, you read correctly. Recent studies have revealed links trying social media to all manner of its not sorry, let me get back to that, I'm still a little bit too close. That's right, you read correctly. Recent studies may have revealed links tying social media to all manner of ills. Not only your ability to multitask and your focus be adversely affected by your incessant networking, so might other cognitive functions. As the infographic form assisted living today below shows, science may have again found fodder for hazard warnings and labels, this time maybe on Facebook. And what they're meaning there, like when you pick up a pack of smokes, they have a hazard warning on there that it might give you cancer, right? And they're suggesting that now social media might give this hazard warnings because of the addiction involved in them. So anyway, here we go with the pictures in the presentation part of it, that hopefully will be a little bit interesting for you, more than just hearing me stumble over paragraphs of endless words. So how social media is ruining our minds. There's a little caricature look of an individual that's had his head cut open, his brain removed, and we can see Wi-Fi signals, thumbs up, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook symbols there. And that's kind of how we do spend most of our days, or certainly a large majority of our days, plugged in, looking to all these sort of social applications and platforms. Are you accustomed to receiving your news in 140 characters? Watching videos in under 10 minutes? If so, you may be changing the way your brain works. Studies show that social media has a profound effect on the human mind, something we should be aware of. Now, something I'm often asked, or maybe I get comments from silent viewers now and then, is, can you make shorter videos? Well, no, and the reason I don't make shorter videos is because of this here. If you need to watch videos that are under 10 minutes long, then you don't necessarily have the attention span to retain information. And a lot of information cannot be conveyed within just 10 minutes, and that's why my videos are a little bit longer than normal. You don't have to watch them all in their entirety, that is up to you. But the reason that they are longer is because they contain information, and you can't sort of Snapchat or Instabite information into 140 characters or 10 minutes, and this is the purpose of these apps. 10-minute videos, 140, and if you've got a YouTube and watch any kind of YouTube tutorials about how to make videos and start a YouTube channel. They also, so it's very important to keep your videos under to 10 minutes, and it's the repeating of the narrative in the desired behavior that it wants from its YouTubers. And that's why YouTube hates YouTubers like me who are not monetized and who do everything against the sort of grain and the suggested narrative of how you should conduct yourself on YouTube. But social media is in fact influencing a whole lot of more people into how they have how they should or behave and how they should think, and studies below will show us a little bit of how they do that. What is being affected by social media? It's surprising how many areas of our lives are affected by social media. Scientists are looking at how we multitask, how we interact socially, and our ability to focus. And again, if we spend a lot of time just reading 140 characters or 10-minute videos, then our ability to focus is going to be somewhat limited. And this is a little bit how society has been dumbed down. And this is why we have an Instagram narcissistic selfie culture, because it's all about me, the now, in minutia behavioral patterns. And minutia is minute by minute little pieces of data that is then collected by these algorithms that are controlled by artificial intelligence and then passed on to scientists who then run that information through various algorithms. And most importantly, all your data and all your information and everything you've ever typed or said or spoken into your computer or phone, smartphone, is now being run through multiple scenarios and simulations within the sentient simulation. Check out my is this the real life, is this just fantasy video I uploaded a few days so far. Only 70 of you have, and I'm pretty sure that the 70 of you that did watch that didn't watch it all the way through, which is a little bit why we're doing this in the live feed. So you guys who do tune into the live shows more than watch my videos in their entirety will have to sort of somehow watch my content whether you want to or not. I mean, you are fully free to leave at any particular time. This isn't a cult or anything like that, but you know, I'm just making some observational comment of relevance there. So much has been said about our increasing impatience, and much of it is attributed to the fact that everything is instantly available to these days, and this is what I was just saying. And the attention span of people is just 5 minutes long. 10 years ago it was 22 minutes, and something you may is that 22 or 12? If it is 22, I'm not sure, my eyes are actually that bad, guys, I do apologize. But something also you notice that TV shows, actually, if you ever sort of do a lot of online streaming, certainly stuff like Simpsons or sitcoms like Friends, for example, Frasier, they're all around 23, 24 minutes long, and that allows for them to cut commercials in the airtime, right? That runs for them 30 minutes. That is a pretty drastic change, no shit. And as again, this is because people have been forced to get their information in 140 characters or 10-minute videos, and that is again why I'm trying to sort of open some minds, I guess, and maybe make people a little bit aware of maybe some of the behavioral patterns and some of the characteristics they have might be a result of being affected by social media mind control. And only when you sort of become aware of your characteristics and your behavioral patterns can you then sort of maybe admit that you might as well have some kind of habit, be it alcoholism, drug addiction, or social media manipulation. Younger people have even shorter attention spans, and that's something that babies and toddlers are being given these days are tablets as babysitters, where they just sit there for hours on end scrolling around randomly looking at all sorts of things that might be subliminally affecting the minds of the young. And an awful lot of research and disturbing scientific experimentation has gone on by secret government acronym agencies on children. And in fact, Stranger Things, the popular Netflix show, was actually based on stories and rumours of the Montauk Project. But anyways, even going to be called Montauk Diaries, I believe. But anyway, the effects of a shortened attention span. Now, these are some things that I often do find myself doing. 25% of people forget names and details of close friends and even relatives. I'm terrible at remembering names. And sort of certain things, you know, it goes on here to say people forget their birthdays, and close family members or loved ones' birthdays as well. We don't have any a real concept of what that is. We don't remember things like phone numbers anymore. Everything is there instantly in our heads. Remember once again when we used to sort of have a little bit of paper in our wallet or pocket with numbers that we didn't want to forget, and there were certain phone numbers that we just knew off by heart and memory. Do you even know your husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend's cell phone number without looking it up right now? Forgetting pots and pans on the stove. I've done that. I'm pretty sure you guys have, or maybe gone to do something and then forgotten exactly why you got up to do something. I'm pretty sure we've all been there. In the UK last year, and this would have been in 2010, bear in mind, 1.6 billion pounds of damage was caused by lack of concentration. That's over $3 billion, guys. About $3.3 billion, depending on current currency exchange rates. But interruptions. Every time we start a new task, the brain has to reorientate itself, and that is something recently I have been struggling a lot with. I feel very lost and vague, and just like sort of want to lock myself in a room. I do know actually quite a few of you watching, Kali Ninja and Judy Bell, Prepper Chicken Texas. She and Kali Ninja has had certain, and we've even talked about having similar symptoms in sort of feeling lost and vacant recently, and a little bit down in the dumps. And we will later in this presentation talk a little bit about the electronic mind controls that are also affecting our behavioral patterns and our independent thought trains. But the average office worker checks his email box 30 to 40 times an hour. That's like almost every other minute, right? And you might find yourself checking your phone inadvertently multiple times throughout the day to check for notifications or updates or you know, things like that. 500,000 people join Twitter every day. 12 million Twitter users follow 64 or more Twitter accounts, and 1.5 million follow over 311 accounts. So all that sort of following, you can saturate some of those people that you follow with desired narrative operatives and people that are paid and shill ops, I guess, that they look like they have sort of normal profiles, or they're just an average person, but they are in fact working in an office in a cubicle with a whole bunch of other lab agents that are designed to propagate certain content that you will be subliminally subjected to while you look through your news feeds. You may not retain it consciously, but the subconscious does retain it, and the subconscious will drive a lot of our behavioral patterns. 7 billion people spend 7 billion minutes on Facebook every month. 41.6 of people access email on a mobile phone. Facebook's users install 20 million apps every day, and all these apps again are just data collecting agencies, and when you install them you give them permission, and all that permission is to collect your data, sometimes even listen and have access to your contact list, photos, even though they're unnecessary to the running of that particular application, and a lot of them won't work unless you give them permissions. Rewiring our brains. Okay, so brains are constantly changing and accepting and adapting rather according to our experiences. They don't simply sit in our heads, but instead they grow and adjust, and they are growing and being adjusted according to our artificial intelligence algorithmic data collection that has provided you with the desired content that the elites want you to believe or to abide to. or even to, you know, target products that you might need or not necessarily need. Have you ever wondered why you feel you might need an EMP shield so badly when it serves no real purpose, if you think about it? But we would be oh my goodness, I can't read, that's too small. Remiss in thinking that hours spent online every day don't have an effect on one of the most important organs of the body, but it actually does. Study done on comprehension found that people who read text only understood far more than those who read text integrated with video. And this is kind of why I do a lot of screen recordings of me reading articles. Not only do you guys hear me speaking it, you also kind of inadvertently get to read it in the background, and hopefully this information, there is purpose and method to my madness, people, and this is why we do these longer videos, and this is why we talk and why we show you stuff like this, is because hopefully you will retain some of this information. Now, I'm not trying to change your minds, I'm not trying to change the way you act, I'm not telling you this is what you have to believe, I'm just providing you with information where you can form your own opinion, and maybe your opinion has been changed dramatically without you unknowing, as a result of spending far too much time on social media. Video is a popular part of social media, but it actually disrupts our concentration. Some claim social media makes us more self-centered, selfie culture, Instagram, narcissistic behavior. In 2009, a study of college students found that 3.7% felt their generation uses social media to seek out attention and to self-promote. God knows what that percentage would be in 2020. I'm going to go as far as to say it's going to be up there around 80-90%, right? And this is it, because many of us now, for probably a decade or so, have had a social media presence, and for a decade now we have had an inadvertent dopamine dependency enforced upon us, and self-promotion, selfies, all of this stuff is a product of social media, and it is all behavior. Ask yourself this: back in 1986, should we say, for example, and you used to have a little Kodak 35mm point and shoot camera, how many times did you turn that camera around and point it on yourself and take a picture? I actually used to do that quite a lot, believe it or believe it not, because I used to go and do a lot of traveling on my own and go places, and sort of, there's a picture of me outside the Eiffel Tower, and without a partner there to take the picture of me, and sometimes not being able to speak the language, or not necessarily trusting the locals enough with your little camera without running off with it. I used to take what was now known as selfies. But ask yourself this: did you ever take a selfie before you were told to? And then you started seeing other people taking selfies, and then mimetic behavior kicks in. All right. So anyway, 40% of college students agreed that social media, self-promotion and attention seeking was useful for getting ahead in the world. So again, it's not a lie if you believe it, kind of mentality there, that they've been led to believe that by giving their data, by being a little bit selfish, and by self-promoting themselves, they are contributing greatly and doing a good thing for the world, right? Or getting ahead of, that's the way to get ahead and to be better than anybody else, is by appearing better on your social media, and social justice, virtue signaling, and social validation are very, very, very prominent in the way that they control your minds through social media. A UCLA study showed that just 5 hours of internet surfing can change the way your brain works. More activity is seen in the problem-solving and decision-making areas of the brain than in those who do not use the internet. Social media internet addiction is real. Students asked to give up media for 24 hours had the following symptoms: phantom phone vibrations, reaching for a phone that wasn't there, fidgeting and restlessness. Remember when we had fidget spinners, guys? So the fidget spinner is designed to keep your hands busy while you put your phone down, and sort of fidget spinners also do kind of, the muscle memory is very similar to the swiping your phone activity, if you can remember the fidget spinners craze a few years ago. And I actually believe that somehow part of the singularity in getting us cooked up into transhumanism and maybe in the real life matrix, that we will be things like smash the like, hit the bell. This is brainwashing us, and the swiping of our thumbs, swipe, 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 swipe right, all this kind of stuff will be sort of how we can sort of maybe still function subconsciously, and maybe, you know, this will be our labor. We will be put into some kind of suspended animation and living within a virtuality, but our actual body will be providing some sort of labor. Maybe the power system in the mount, like the Matrix, we were plugged into the system that we fueled ourselves. But anyway, let's get back. Sorry if you are losing interest. I do apologize, guys. But it's all about the hormones. Social networking has an actual chemical effect on our brains. Oxytocin, the hormone that simulates trust and empathy, spikes when social media users are online. Social networking can simulate the same time of hormonal response as talking to friends and family. This hormone is usually released during face-to-face interactions, but that has been removed and we now get that same thing. So it's getting us used to getting stimulated digitally from the things we once used to get stimulated by physically. And this is a little bit like kind of, I spoke about ASMR, and this is another way of getting us used to being stimulated virtually rather than, you know, getting tickled in whispered in our actual ear by a loved one. We can now just plug in some earphones and choose our prettiest ASMRist of choice and listen to them hypnotize us and get some tingles, maybe even a semi. There is actually ASMR porn for those of you who are interested. But be careful, you don't want anybody to walk in on you while you're ASMR jerking off. But anyway, stress hormones also tend to drop according to the recent studies when we're online. So we're feeling a little bit better about ourselves by being on social media. Our stress levels are reduced, and by thus we will then be a little bit more subjectical and possibly willing to let a little bit more of our information out. Adrenaline is also released when we respond to a sudden change in environment, and social media is a series of changes. You know, one minute you might be looking at some cute cat pictures, and all of a sudden there might be a shit poster who's put a picture of a dead rabbit that got hit by a fucking car or something, and all of a sudden you feel sick. But believe it or not, guys, that is actually targeted. They do give you a series of sort of pleasurable images after another, and then they will put the shock and awe image in there just to see how you will react, guys. This is proven. You can look this stuff up. Facebook has conducted many social engineering experimentations along these lines, where they've controlled what you see and what you don't see, and then judged how you react by the emojis and stuff like that. And that is why it's all very, very important. Again, you know, when people tell you to hit the like, the calls for action, as they are known, hit the like, smash the bell, it is to see how many of you that are watching have been subjected to that kind of subliminal persuasion. And again, it is to see how much of the memetics have caught in, that you've been told to do something, so you just start to do it. And a little bit like wearing masks, you keep hearing about wearing masks, and you just keep seeing people wearing masks. Sooner or later you probably wear a mask on your own. The effects of social media on the human brain are still not a popular research topic, but there are definite changes. You can observe these yourself if you look at how your attention span has changed in the past several years. As time goes on, we will learn more about how the brain reacts. Hopefully, it won't be too late to make adjustments. Is it too late to make adjustments? Only you can decide that, and only you can make the conscious choice to make adjustments if you feel that there may be the slightest chance that you have succumbed to social media mind control. And these are the sources of that presentation. Infographic by Assisted Living Today provided that little display for us, and that's all there is to all she wrote, or all there is to say on that particular article. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys, and as I said, I did try and explain a little bit why the videos are long, and a little bit why we see some of these articles, and hopefully that will kind of make you realize why I do what I do and how I do it the way I do it. You do need to detach a little bit from the dependency of dopamine, and we do need to step away, before you quickly hit the share button. Stop, put the phone down, scratch your ass, take a piss, drink a cup of tea, smoke a spliff, go back, and then see if you still want to share what it is, because there's a chance that you are inadvertently just spreading and sharing desired elite propaganda designed to stimulate one particular side of the fence. And there are always two, left and right, blue and red, guys, the duality. So anyway, hopefully I still got some of your attention. Hopefully some of you haven't gone to go and find 140 characters in 10-minute video to watch instead. And if you have stuck around, we will be moving on to the next part of this presentation.
Attention plays a central role in understanding memes. A meme that lots of people pay attention to will be more successful than a meme that few notice. So over the millions of years necessary for major genetic evolution to take place, we aren't surprised to find that most animals, including ourselves, have a genetic tendency to pay attention to the things that were important in getting us where we are today: danger, food, and sex. In our search for mind viruses, then, our first candidates will be situations that push one or more of these 4 buttons: anger, fear, hunger, and lust, and thus draw our precious attention to a use of our consciousness for which, upon reflection, we would not choose to spend it. Enhanced communication had huge survival value in the evolution of human beings, but the innovation that makes us human is consciousness. It's the same innovation that makes us such a wonderful environment for meme evolution. The deep thoughts we think and the elegant intellectual models we build are all kludged on top of the advanced survival and mating functions of the brain, which in turn are kludged on top of the primitive survival and mating functions: fear, anger, hunger, and lust. Our brains evolved countless secondary strategies to make us better not only at survival and reproduction, but also at satisfying those 4 first-order urges. Here are a few second-order instinctual drives some people seem to have that are all opportunities for memes to take advantage of. Belonging. Memes that give people a feeling of belonging to a group have an advantage over memes that don't. Distinguishing yourself. Any memes that make people feel distinguished, special, or important have an edge in meme evolution. Caring. Memes that take advantage of people's caring natures have an advantage in the battle for a share of our minds. Approval. Successful memes hook into people's drive to get approval and play on the guilt, shame, and hurt that result if they don't get it. And obeying authority. It was in an individual's genetic interests, that is, in the interest of his or her DNA, to recognize that obeying the authority of someone more powerful increases his DNA's chance of survival and replication, while fighting the authority might get him or her killed or left out in the cold. The way these second-order drives work is similar to the way the primary drives work. You get some kind of good feeling when you're doing the thing that the drive drives you to do, or you get a bad feeling when you're not. People have many secondary drives connected to various strong feelings, and memes that activate these feelings have the evolutionary advantage. We will simply pay more attention to memes that push our buttons because that is our nature. Our tendency to pay special attention to these memes makes them more likely to replicate and become embedded in our culture. Memes that push our primary and secondary buttons have an evolutionary advantage over memes that don't, even if those other memes might be more accurate or more supportive of our quality of life. Remember, Quality of life is not what natural selection is about. Quantity of replication is. Just as DNA replicates when the organism it generates survives and reproduces, memes replicate when the behavior they cause attracts attention. Pushing our buttons is a great way to attract attention to a meme, so memes that annoy, seduce, enrage, or scare us tend to become widespread. In addition to the survival-oriented memes that are still with us, there are some more types of memes that don't seem to particularly help or hurt our survival, but by their very nature are fit to spread effectively. Tradition. A strategy meme to continue what was done or believed in the past is automatically self-perpetuating. People infected with tradition memes are programmed to repeat this meme in the future and spread this meme to future generations. Traditions die hard. Evangelism. Any meme that explicitly involves spreading itself to other people has an added advantage over other memes. Evangelism is often combined with the mission meme, making it even more powerful. Then there are the memes that become entrenched in people's minds and are extremely resistant to attack. Faith. Any meme that entails believing in it blindly can never be dislodged from your belief system by any attack or argument. Combined with evangelism, faith makes for a powerful mind virus envelope that can be stuffed with just about any content. Skepticism. Questioning new ideas is a defense against new memes. The opposite of faith, skepticism actually has a very similar effect on the mind programmed with it. Skeptics are resistant to new ideas just as the faithful are. A faithful and a skeptic can argue forever and never learn anything. Other memes are fit because of the nature of communication. Imagine a group of people playing the game of telephone. One player starts by whispering a sentence in the next player's ear. That player whispers whatever she hears to the next player, who continues the process until the message, usually garbled beyond recognition, finally makes its way back to the originator, who bursts out laughing at the way his message has evolved. This is meme evolution in a microcosm. What kind of memes survive the ordeal? Familiarity. The familiar spreads more quickly than the unfamiliar because people have distinction memes for familiar things already and therefore notice them more. Making sense. Memes that make sense spread more quickly than ones that don't. People are quick to accept flawed explanations that make more sense over more accurate ones that are harder to understand. My favorite example of meme evolution through the universal game of telephone is Emerson's quotation from his essay Self-Reliance. A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. People frequently leave off the first two words, completely changing Emerson's meaning. Emerson's quote points out the danger of falling into the truth trap. The hobgoblin of little minds, what keeps people from making the most of their lives, is allowing the random mimetic programming you got since you were born to direct your life consistent with itself. Understanding memetics gives you a chance to look inside at what programs you are running, and if you choose, to reprogram yourself powerfully and consciously to point your life in whatever direction you choose.
So, people know my background from yesterday's speech, that my real specialty is artificial intelligence and robotics and redefining what human beings will be in the future. And a lot of people find this scary. I don't want to be redefined. I don't like this idea, something that's beyond my control. The very sense of self is going to be altered. Well, you're actually under a lot of control systems, and you have been since birth. So I was talking a little bit about, mind control in particular, and something that I worked on that I'm not proud of, but it's called the Voice of God weapon. So there are 4 different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. and they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. That's just what's happening. Now we have, which are magnetically activated nanoparticles and sensors. So how do you control the brain? Most people don't believe that. Oh, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true. So these nanoparticles are activated under certain magnetic frequency and will alter the brain patterns and pathways. Recently, my school came out, Harvard came out with what you see here on the right slide is the magnified view of a needle that's injected into the brain and puts the scaffolding over the brain, and then it's read that way at a much finer resolution. So let's talk about a little bit about deciphering the audio and visual cortex. So researchers at the University of California, Berkeley have invented a brain decoder device that's able to work out what you're thinking based on neural activity inside of the brain. Now they use mostly what's called functional MRIs. But you could use any of these technologies that I talked about. If you're reading text in a newspaper or book, you hear a voice in your own head. Usually, most people are reading kind of aloud in their own head. Well, they can read that, decipher the words that you are thinking to yourself. So there's another one, University of LA, maybe Stanford University. They are decoding visual images. So they train the person under a functional MRI, that's the standard technique, to look at images, and then they record them, and then they ask the person to imagine the object. It can also just be imaginary, and the computer will decipher the brain code, and so you're looking at a hammer, you're looking at a saw, that's a house, that's a cat. So the technology in the civilian sector is coming along quite quickly. Somebody apparently from NASA leaked this as something they were working on. And telepathy, electronic two-way communications. Well, we have that now. And that's very scary if you've never experienced it. Making humanity think an alien invasion is about to occur at every major city. Well, we have holograms in the sky. I described that technology. And, you know, they talk about other things that might make this come about. But all I am saying is beware.
Yeah, can you elaborate on hyper game theory and so-called walking people to their death?
Okay. Yeah, so hypergame theory came out of a professor at Dartmouth, obviously funded by the Air Force and DARPA, and etc., all the acronyms. And it came from a man that died recently, a brilliant man named John Nash, who there was a movie made about him called The Beautiful Mind, and he was a mathematician who won a Nobel Prize. And he created game theory, which is used in economics as well as war theory. Now, it relies on rational players. So you run these simulations. What will China do if we make this move? What is the theory, the game, the war game going on? Or you can use it in business, similar process. Hypergame theory is one level above of that abstraction, that you don't know what game they're going to play. So they use it in cyber warfare, mostly. And attackers, hackers, they'll use several different techniques. But the defenses, the administrator, and the virus protection, they don't know what game these hackers are using. So they create a probability matrix over the period of the time of sampling all the different kinds of hacks they get. Now you can apply this to other aspects of life. The way that I was using it is they're trying to it was called mind hacking. So they're trying to hack a targeted individual, and the targeted individual will create mental defenses as best as they can. They'll go to their social networks. Well, what do? They try to disrupt the social network, so you have no family or friends. It's a back and forth game that they're trying to find out the maximum probability of death. And the example that you use, where you'll commit suicide or you'll harm somebody, become a Manchurian candidate or something like that. So it's huge database probabilities across all the variations of mind. The human genome, I think we have, I'm going to get this wrong, so I'm not even going to say it, but a finite in the hundreds of thousands of different genes across our species. And we mapped them out in the Human Gene Project. Well, now it's the Human Mind Project, the Global Brain Project. President Obama just recently funded a whole bunch of scientists to decipher the mind. Well, our previous president, same thing, George Bush, said the same thing. They're trying to decipher every possible thought and uniqueness due to culture and language and whatnot.
I've got a quick question. Just to confirm, you said you were a little bit embarrassed, ashamed that you worked on a project called The Voice of God.
Yeah.
And to your understanding, it had been used in the Iraq War, but you worked on it. Can you tell us what the name of the project in the military as it was being developed was, and how much was spent on it?
Oh, no. I wasn't interested in budgets or names. But the nickname was Voice of God. But it goes under a lot of different names, different variations. And so let me talk about some of the technology. It's called, one is called the microwave hearing effect, which with directed microwaves, this was discovered by a guy named Frey. And they're not totally sure what the mechanism is, but they hypothesize that the brain expands ever so slightly with this energy, heat energy, that gets conducted to the inner ear. There are several other technologies that use ion cyclotron resonance heating, or calcium C2+, as a mechanism of influencing the nervous system. And all the ions have their different resonances under the Earth's magnetic field, and then you can go into the ultrasonic realm, where anybody in the beam with one of the ultrasound waves won't hear anything. It's above human hearing. But where the waves intersect from two different directional sources, all of a sudden that person hears it, and that's called the audio spotlight. So there are a lot of mechanisms to project voices into people's heads.
Thank you.
Hello. I have a question that relates to step 3 in Project Bluebeam. It concerns telepathic electronic two-way communication. I wondered if it was possible for images to be directed into the thoughts and the minds for a number of reasons, for myself and
in fact, all 5 senses can be mildly overridden depending on the state. Now, if you're in a sensory deprivation tank, your mind seeks stimulus, hearing, sight, temperature, anything. So if you're in that situation, your dreams become your reality. Your brain cannot tell the difference. But in other circumstances, if you stay well stimulated, it's difficult to project visual images into the target. But even university professors are working on those. So yes, it's absolutely possible and is being done. In fact, many people complain about forced dreams or something that their dreams are not their own. You know, that can be, there are a whole bunch of subconscious ways that can be done, as well as stimulating the visual cortex in the right patterns and try to project them into the target. Yeah.
So, who would be projecting these? Sorry, which organisation would be projecting these? Who's responsible? Can't say. Okay. But it just seems to be very real because I've heard it from more than one source, and it can be
quite real.
Because you're awake, you're not asleep necessarily.
Yeah, and it projects also in the visual workspace, as I mentioned before. So it's like your third eye, and you can see both your, through your retina, as well as this other projection at the same time. Your brain's been rewired, and it's inserting this third eye projection, if you will.
Is there any way we can protect against it?
No, great question. No, you can dampen the effects through stimulating your senses, like music or that kind of thing, and that seems to help. Certain drugs can dampen the effects, but no one's found a little device that you can wear around that will block the signal. No tinfoil hats, no, they don't work.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll come down on the stage actually, because I think it's probably going to be the last question. Now, Dr. Duncan, you've given us a lot of reason over the last 2 days to be concerned by the potential for abuse of this technology. At the end of your presentation today, you feel quite optimistic about the idea of transhumanism. I mean, maybe you're talking about a perfect world where we can draw perfect circles or whatever. But in my view, how is it possible for transhumanism to be a good thing without some almost unimaginable social revolution? And I mean, as Max Egan, I don't know if you've seen Max Egan's video about transhumanism. He puts it very right, very succinctly, and he says, how much can we be transhumanized without losing our humanity, especially where we have rulers who have none?
That's an excellent point, and that's why I try to ask more questions than I answer. It has to be a social revolution. I mean, that's the only way it could be accepted by society. But this is so gradual within our generations that it will become more and more acceptable. So people walking around with Bluetooth, headsets. Well, now we accept that. They look like the Borg, and so slowly this will eventually be rolled in, and we won't give it another thought. When a child is born, we genetically engineer them, with blue eyes or whatever they.
Some might argue, though, that the technology we already have. The technology we already have is sort of cutting us off from each other. I mean, I'm guilty here myself. I apart from my family in my hometown and the men I live with, I know one person. But I have thousands of friends online, so maybe.
Yeah. So is that just a redefinition of how to be social? What is a friend on Facebook? How often you talk to them? You can't shake their hand, you can't hug them. I don't know. This is something society is going to have to deal with. This is a social revolution. It's occurring right now at a very rapid rate. I call it a cataclysmic evolutionary event in mankind.
Yeah, it could also, since we do have a malevolent elite in this world, the potential danger here is enormous.
It is, and I think there may be an agenda to depopulate the world.
Oh, I think there is.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, sleep tight. I know. It's grim stuff, I know, and it
is grim stuff. Leave on a happy note.
Look at it this way. I mean, if people are not talking about this, then it'll be an awful lot worse than the people are talking about it. I mean, that would really scare me if this was going on and people were not talking about it. So, Dr. Robert Duncan, thank you very much for speaking to us again.
Thank you for having me.
So there was an interesting little presentation about some nefarious technology that can alter the way that we think. And again, we do live in a day and age where we are surrounded by electromagnetic frequencies, Wi-Fi signals, 3G, 4G, 5G, all of this kind of stuff. Now, depending on your thoughts or what side of the fence you lie on with regards to sort of things like 5G and Wi-Fi, this is all kind of part of the technological control, and it's not necessarily to control us in a weaponized way. It's to kind of control us mentally, and not only that, it's also to control the technology that controls us as well, right? It's all about hand in glove, keeping us in that state of virtuality and dependent on technology. And as we said, we've heard some pretty disturbing technology that is available and is used by governmental agencies, including Project Bluebeam, which we're not going to go and divulge too much into, because that is something I've covered quite a lot over the course of the summer and into as we are falling into fall now in contemporary times. But Bluebeam is something that I do believe, or have strong reasons to believe, that there is some supporting evidence that they are indeed getting ready to implement them, and the electromagnetic frequencies, voice of God technology is also part of Project Bluebeam. And this is kind of all where I'm going with the COVID cover-up Project Bluebeam. Not only are we having our attentions adverted to the sky, we are also having we are also being distracted from these events with contemporary propaganda over the COVID-19 mask, right? And although they are sort of seeding and implanting these alien invasion stroke asteroid strike type news articles, they are not getting the saturation right now, and this is what subliminal seeding is. But the electromagnetic frequencies, again, this is something I touched upon in a video I've already mentioned in this presentation. Is this the real life? Is this just fancy? We have to look at the we had a little look at the Sentient World simulation, but we also mentioned the electromagnetic frequencies, and this is what the tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist type stereotype was all about, that we were using tinfoil hats to protect ourselves and prevent intrusion to the mind from electromagnetic frequencies. And this was way back in the 1960s, guys. So this technology has been around for a lot longer than we realize, and is probably used more often than not, and is probably right now being used on you and me and the rest of society in order to get them to comply and adhere to the narrative of the COVID-19 pandemic. But anyway, back in 1993 in Rwanda, you can remember there was a lot of stuff going on in Rwanda back then. There was even the movie Hotel Rwanda. It was about the genocide or attempted genocides over there, and some intrusions in insurgent factions getting at each other as they struggled for power within that country. But the Americans kind of sort of let them get on with it, and then when they wanted to implement their desired model for Rwanda, then they unleashed what was known as Operation Crimson Mist, and that is what we are gonna look at now. And are they crimson misting us all now into being turned against each other, be it for Trump against Trump, for BLM against BLM, for Antifa against Antifa, for masks against masks, for pro-abortion against abortion, yada yada, whoopie-woo, the list goes on. The divides and then the divides within the divisions are almost endless in today's times. But this is an example of a real event that actually happened and was carried out by the United States military using voice of God technology. So Crimson Mist, during the late afternoon of the 6th of April 1994, hail of cannon shells tore through the fuselage of a commercial airliner flying overhead in central Rwanda. Several seconds later, the blazing plane exploded on impact with the ground, killing President, name I can't pronounce, of Rwanda, another name I can't pronounce, of Burundi, and most of their senior government officials. Take out the heads of state, leave the nation leaderless, anarchy prevails, and then while the anarchy prevails, up shows the military with their Operation Crimson Mist, which we are about to see what was involved within that operation. The most obscure terminal mind control experiment ever mounted by the United States of America against a sovereign nation. The Crimson Mist has been used again recently on a smaller scale in Iraq, is now beyond doubt. As the name I can't read and his colleagues made their death dive, a small group of American men and women lounged around in a large hut at the edge of a discreet gravel airstrip, a few miles from the Rwandan capital of Kigali, temporary home for their 3 unmarked C-130 Hercules transport planes. All crew members carried forged credentials showing them as atmospheric researchers. And just remember that HAARP are atmospheric researchers, and they have an awful lot of transmitters and frequencies that they are bombarding into the air. But anyway, topics for other. The days perhaps, employed by an artificial civilian American agency, but these were only for emergency identification if one of the aircraft was forced to make an unscheduled landing on unfriendly territory. For all practical security purposes, neither they nor the 3 large aircraft were even in Africa. When news of the presidential crash came over the VHF radio, one of the Hercules planes was swiftly prepared for takeoff. The flight engineer checked the attachment of the RATO, Rocket Assisted Takeoff packs, while the scientists made final adjustments to a large microwave dish mounted on the rear landing ramp of the aircraft. It was this strange and esoteric piece of equipment alone that would directly contribute to the deaths of more than 1 million African civilians during the 100 days that followed. Now, is this why they're putting up 5G towers everywhere? Is this why we have satellite dishes and stuff like this? Because sooner or later they're going to be turning crimson mist on the masses. But anyway, for 100 days that followed, through completely silent in operations, silent weapons for silent wars, guys, and we are in a psychological silent operation, silent warfare right now. And if anything, there is a sort of silent virtual social media civil war going on between many fractions, be it pro-mask against mask, for Trump against mask. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, the microwave dish had more killing potential than a whole squadron of AC-13 Spectre gunships armed with 50 Gatling guns. So one plane, one dish is more lethal than a battalion of fully armed gunships carrying 50 caliber Gatling guns. Just try to comprehend that, guys. So anyway, they were willing to commit mass murder. These operatives that were sitting around waiting for the news of the presidential crash were all out there willing to commit mass murder, borderlining on genocide, guys. Though officially tagged an experiment, none of those presidents had any doubt this was merely a cosmetic cover-up, just like maybe the COVID-19 pandemic is a cosmetic cover-up for us being crimson mist and being turned against ourselves slowly and surely. Remember, slowly and surely they drew their plans against us. War of the Worlds, guys. That was in the recent Bluebeam Live episode that we did. If you were paying attention, let me know if you were. First was the evolving need to control the This first was the need to control or eliminate political dissent by remote means in the run-up to the 21st century, and also in the run-up to the Rwandan elections, I believe. Just letting you know, guys, we are running up to a United States election as we speak, time of recording. Was the need to stern or reverse, and the second need was to reverse the massive population increases. Remember, guys, population control and depopulation agenda are part of the masses. So, you know, is the human farming element of social media mind control leading us kind of like Pied Pipers to our doom? But anyway, where are we? Massive population increases across the world which threaten to overwhelm existing natural resources. Sustainable Development Agenda 2030, guys. Especially water and food. In string to that word, I can't see or read it at the minute, is required, and a willingness to commit mass murder, and everyone present had passed the critical test with flying colours. So they had a bunch of sociopathic psychopaths on board willing to carry out mass murder. Anyway, the Hercules engine started with a roar. Up in the skies they went above Kigali. We're working alongside local civil servants and members of the Rwandan security service, ramping up suspicion about foul play in a presidential air crash. Maybe, you know, these sort of similar people are pumping up public suspicion about a certain POTUS's health condition. But anyway, as part of distraction. But this was urged on by corrupt officialdom, so sort of mainstream people in local communities that were on the payroll. All of these started to implement and support the narrative that was desired and designed to distract everybody from the Herculeses above that were armed with the microwave that was going to send millions of them to their death. They went on to throw rocks. The tribesmen started marching on the Tutsi tribesmen and threw rocks, and innocent enough at the outset of a small confrontation that begun at the outset of the genocide. Sorry, I'm sort of adding that wasn't words there, but there was a few nasty machete cuts in there and then but at this time that the riot and the sort of infractions and the sort of conflict to begin, it wasn't as savage as it was once the C-13 Hercules made a carefully calculated pass directly above the advancing Houthi tribe. and they suddenly went berserk. Eyes glazed, the mood of the Houthi crowd went from simple anger to uncontrollable rage. Now, uncontrollable rage is also something that was featured in some of the more modern themed genre movies, where we kind of seen the fast, very, very angry zombies that were sort of almost unstoppable, as opposed to the sort of more traditional corpse-like zombies that kind of just strolled and stumbled along. So, you know, was this dawn of the new generation of super hyper rage zombies? Is this a little bit of predictive programming for a rage virus that could be perpetuated by a Crimson Mist type operation on the masses and using 5G to carry it out? What the Hercules crew had just achieved has been an open secret since the late 50s, when researchers accidentally discovered that there is a precise control brainwave for literally everything we do and for everything we feel. And a lot of that science in the 50s come as a result of Operation Paperclip, where the Allied forces cherry-picked their favorite and best Nazi war criminals and scientists and brought them over, give them new identities and got them working for them, and used their research tactics and skills to implement the Fourth Reich, which will be the One World Order, guys, unless you're unaware. But anyway, they found out that there is a precise control brainwave for literally everything we do and for everything we feel. The problem back then was that each of these control brainwaves, rage, fear, panic, lethargy, vomiting, and so on, had to be transmitted with an accuracy taker out of 3 decimal places, or they simply did not work at all. But as years rolled by, and with the advent of transistors and microprocessors, the operational application of a precise control brainwaves became practical reality. Again, this was in 1993, guys. Now we carry around with us microprocessors and transistors in the palm of our hands, and right now, probably depending on where you are watching this, there are multiple transistors and microprocessors surrounding you. And is this how they are indeed controlling your mind? And once they control your mind and you turn them on and you start looking at your Facebook, your social media platforms, be it Twitter or Instagram or whatever it is of choice of your particular taste, is this also contributing into your mind control? But it is important here to note that there was a lethal trick repeated hundreds of times by the C-13 Hercules in Rwanda, during April to July of 1994. It was not classic mind control in the ultimate conspiratorial meaning of the term, i.e. where people claim to hear complicated messages inside their heads, or where it is feared that the NSA, a little bit like Dale Gribble, he was a fair of that, and he heard the voices and transmitters and stuff, that's why he was on the thumbnail, intended to turn everybody into helpless zombies. And what I was just saying to you guys, is this the precursor for the zombie rage apocalypse? This is why we've been seeing a lot of those fast-paced zombie films, where once upon a time when we grew up, fast zombies weren't even a thing. We wouldn't even contemplate them as being zombies. Am I right or am I right? Some of you that follow along the Toronto lockdown process might know what that's all about. But anyway, electromagnetically augmenting our pre-existing state of our mind. Remember that the agents and the security service personnel first had to point the tribesmen in the direction of the Tutsi, induce a reasonable anger, and make sure they were appropriately armed. So let's say you've got anti-maskers and you've got maskers that are out there, and we've seen some of this behavior from Karens, right? The Manchurian Karens, watch that video, check it out. Are Manchurian Karens being electromagnetically augmented, right, to behave that way? Okay, try and comprehend this and bear in mind, I'm not saying this is exactly what's happening, but we can't exactly rule this out as a theological concept, and can't exactly rule it out as not being a probability, right? We are saturated by a lot of things that produce wavelengths. We carry microprocessors and transmitters with us everywhere we go. We're hooked up to Wi-Fi, mobile data. It is everywhere, guys. This is a concern and something you need to pay attention to and take into consideration when trying to form your own opinion on the contemporary current global crisis we are living under. It is a psyop, guys, and everything that we're kind of seeing here in Crimson Mist back in the 90s is kind of being played out again in real time in contemporary times amongst many fractions, right? We have lots of civil unrest. They pointed people in the right direction, fueled and armed them with either the ideology, the propaganda, or the weapons to carry out and perpetuate their designed tasks. And when all the pieces are in place, fry the minds. But anyway, for those who really want to know how governments or agencies change public behavior on a whim, the explanation is not too complicated. Although obtaining details of classified control brain frequencies is all but impossible, various academics have actually demonstrated some of these effects quasi-publicly over the years, which provides some very hard reality and evidence for skeptics. One of the leading lights in this field, Dr. Elizabeth Rauscher Byers, I don't know how to say that, they always have fucking names I can't read, I'm sorry guys, but you can read that for yourselves, who was a nuclear scientist and researcher at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory and at Stanford Research Institute. She's a professor of physics at JFK University of California Research. And she's a research consultation. She does research consultation for NASA and the US Navy. She's also a member of a whole bunch of alphabet acronyms right there. So she's a pretty smart bitch, to say the least, and she's got a lot of credentials to back her shit up. So she certainly has earned the right to talk her talk. But she is somebody who is an expert on this, I guess. And where is it? So she's does specific frequency effects to induce nausea, happiness, and many other behavioral states decades ago. Clearly, her is an enthusiast. Give me the money and 3 months, she boasts, and I'll be able to affect the behavior of 80% of the people on this town without their knowing. It makes make them happy, or at least they think they are happy. And again, this is what social media is doing, it's making you think you're happy. So I started reading something wrong there, I think, but anyway, hopefully you read along. But she is looked into, she's an expert on controlling frequencies, I guess, and this is how she sells her service to people, I guess. Maybe anyone who's willing to pay for it. But unlike many researchers in this field, Elizabeth tends to be open about her work and has demonstrated effects many times in quasi-public forums, and claims to experiment only on fully informed people. Many years ago, during one memorable demonstration in California, she turned a specific brainwave on all students in the left side of her auditorium, whereupon their teeth started chattering collectively and uncontrollably. When the unaffected students on the right side of the auditorium suggested this might be some kind of trick, she then turned it on them instead. They suffered exactly the same fate. Something I've noticed recently, I do shake a lot. I'm forever ever shaking. If not, this is effects of grief and depression and post-traumatic stress, or is it the results and the effects of electromagnetic manipulation? But there it talks about extra low frequencies. I'm not going to read all of this, guys, because I am keeping you bored now, but you get the gist. There are these things out there that do exist. It's been around since the 1950s, when they discovered that you can control the mind with a specific wavelength, and they now have, for quite some time, have weaponry that can literally fly overhead, fry us with some electromagnetic wavelengths, and we're turned upon ourselves. So as I said, it does go on a little bit longer and longer there, but you get the gist of Crimson Mist there and its implications and what it exactly did and how it resulted in the death of millions of Rwandans. We will just read this about Homeland Security. While there is unlikely to be much concern in America, Britain and Australia for the plight of Iraqis on the streets of Baghdad, it may be time to examine what is likely to happen in our own democratic countries if things get more out of control than they are at present. Remember, this article is not recent, guys, and we are in a much more hostile, uncertain days and times than we were at the time that this was written. In Homeland Security are a lot more devious and nefarious now than they were then, although they probably are still as devious, right? I'm not saying that they've got more and more, but they were quite willing to experiment and use this technology out in the Middle East, and mainly because they wanted to test it first before they turned it upon their own people. So as I said, guys, I will go down to the bottom just for those of you who may want to stop and pause and read this. But Crimson Mist, hopefully through this presentation you've retained some of the information that I've inadvertently pressed it onto another button now. I don't even know what we're looking at. I'll just stick a sticker or something over at this point in the edits to okay, guys, so if or not you're still watching, say guys, it's only I think Becky in Kali Ninja watching right now. I think so anyway. Oh no, it isn't. We still got a couple of seconds, my apologies. To turn this upon its own people on homeland soil, and bear in mind they probably did carry out a lot of atrocities on 9/11. Wasn't the result of radicalized Islamists armed with box cutters and limited flight knowledge that hijacked commercial planes that Tuesday morning. It was the work of a clandestine shadow government and government agencies using technology way beyond our comprehension and out of public knowledge, that was responsible for disintegrating 2,000
feet tall solid steel buildings to dust and in front of our eyes. But anyway, guys, that is the end of this presentation. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm not going to keep you any longer, and we will return back to the studio live with me, your host, TSP. See you soon. Hey, welcome back, guys. Say welcome back, guys. Hello, Kali Ninja. Hello, Becky. My two viewers that managed to stick around for the entire duration of this presentation. I've got to say, it was a little bit of a letdown just due to the fact that the YouTube issues and somehow and for some reason they were blocking me, didn't allow this stream to be put up there. If or not I've come under some kind of copyright strike or community strike on YouTube, I'm unaware of. I really don't know, but that was very, very bizarre because I've had absolutely no trouble whatsoever in the past using Prism to stream to YouTube, and I've also had a couple of successful streaming attempts with going on Twitch and YouTube in the last couple of days using Prism. But anyway, if or not that was of any relevance, importance or interest to you, I do not know, but it was quite a bit of effort put into putting that presentation together for you. I'm not going to say it was, you know, like making Ben-Hur with a cast of thousands and such forth, but you know, it did take a couple of days and a few painstaking edits here and there to try and put that together for the enjoyment of what I was hoping to be a few more than the handful that did watch it, although it wouldn't have been a fistful of dollars more. See what I did there, Sergio Leone reference. But anyway, the good thing about Prism app is that I will hopefully be able to save this stream as a file, and hopefully I can be able to possibly upload that on to YouTube later, so that at least this won't have been in vain. But I was going to sort of stick around a little bit afterwards and maybe talk a little bit about
what we just saw in that presentation, if or not any of it resonated with those that were watching. It did seem to be resonating with you, Kali Ninja. You were the only contributor. I'm guessing the other admin crew, they had some busy stuff going on. I think Judy Bell was doing some cooking, and Maiden was trying to sell a car, I think. But anyway, sometimes you try and you can only lose. This does, I don't want to lie, feel a little bit like a defeat, as much as effort and stuff I put into doing this. I don't mean, I'm not saying that to, hey, you're so great for putting the effort in. I'm not saying that, but for all my attempts and efforts to try to get this stream out, there are still things that inadvertently will stand out there or stand in the way and prevent this from getting out there. And is this all related to exactly what we've just been talking about in this presentation, or what I was talking about in this presentation and stuff? In the content I tried to contain within this was hopefully relevant to what's going on right now. Now, as we were sort of saying in the chat, that this isn't exactly, I'm not saying this is exactly what's going on, but let's not dismiss the prospect or the possibility that this technology is indeed being used against us right now. And this is how behavioral patterns seem to be getting changed. Hey Maiden, glad to see you. Hope you had some good luck with the your events tonight. So got to reset there, sorry, got sidetracked. But yeah, let's not rule out the chances that there is a possibility that this might be being used on us at the moment, and is indeed this all part of sort of blue beam on a larger scale around the world. Not necessarily they're targeting local proximities like they did in Rwanda, but is this technology being used? Is what all the Elon Musk satellites and stuff, are they constantly bombarding us with the electromagnetic frequencies? So like they were back in 1994. This technology has been around for that long. Who knows how long it had been around prior to being used in Rwanda, and how far more advanced it would be now, 25 years on, right? And just as once upon a time cell phones were kind of this big, you remember, and now they went sort of this big, and now they can do anything. It's like a robot. That big disc that they had on those Hercules, is what if they kind of managed to make them so small they could be carried around in a tiny little microscopic insect-sized drone? And if you pay attention to the videos and stuff that I have been uploading on YouTube recently, all of this is kind of connected, guys. It's when you start needing to put your pins in tacks in pieces of paper on your wall to kind of tie all the bits together and see and realize that all of this kind of is possibly tied in, and this is part of the large psychological warfare or psychological operation in we find ourselves under. And silent weapons for quiet wars are the technology that this stuff was designed for. So as I said, guys, we probably will wrap this up right now. As I said, not many people were watching or contributing, and yes, they are. T, what do you mean that they are using this technology against us? And as I said, sort of over the sort of period of these few live streams and these presentations, I've tried to sort of kind of keep not necessarily the theme, but it is all connected. Like the memes and the things and the articles and stuff that we see on Facebook, and how it's shared and how it's manipulated in figures and stuff like that to make it look as though it's viral. So it's like, you don't want to miss out. Oh my God, 3 million people. I want to be part of that, right? And we've got nanotechnology, we've got insect-sized technology, we've got frequencies, 5G, 4G, all of this stuff surrounds us, especially in large cities like Toronto, maybe down in LA and in New York and places like this that are like, the mega cities, the smart cities. Everything is connected, all things are wired up, and we're bombarded by this stuff. So is this why we're feeling under the weather? Is this why we're feeling depressed? You mentioned when you were working in the hospital, Kali Ninja, that a lot of people said that they heard voices in their head. When you're in a hospital, they bombard you. There's lots of stuff going on. When you go in, they tell you to turn your cell phone off because it can affect stuff that they're using. So in a frequency pollution, right, might have an effect on the patients and stuff that there are in there. You know what I'm saying? And you know, maybe hospitals are contained areas or controlled areas that they can test, and you know, while you're sick and you're in hospital, you might not notice the fact that there are some strange systems, and then maybe your doctors and nurses are sort of not just taking your symptomatic results, but they're also, okay, and he's reacting to this, and have you been hearing voices? Okay, good. And then they go back to their office. Okay, so patient 3749, he was experiencing voices in his head, whereas patient THX1138, he was not experiencing voicing. Maybe we need to do a little bit of tweaking and touching and tuning on the pitch of our frequencies to make sure that they are getting through everybody's skull. But we are, you know, as I said, I've been talking to Judy Bow, and I know also you, Hallie Ninja. We've been feeling some of the same feelings, and sort of like, you know, when I've expressed the symptoms I'm feeling, it's like, same, exactly, I'm feeling the same. And a lot of people are, and a lot of people are struggling, and a lot of people are hurting in ways that they probably weren't hurting at the start of this pandemic. And all of this is a result, you know, the pandemic in itself is a stressful experience for many people to accept and buy into, and it's been going on for close to 7 months now. The self-isolation, the mask wearing, the social distancing, the new normal, all of this stuff now has had an impact on our life, and we're very disassociated to the life that we once had pre-COVID. And although we're trying to prevent the new normal is tsunami in its way into society, and there's not really a way that we can stop it. We kind of almost have, you know, cocktail parasols against, you know, a mighty Force 9 hurricane and tsunami approaching us, and that's why I try to make these informational or informative videos and presentations like this, in order to try to inform some of you, and, you know, like, being aware of what you're doing on social media, and be aware that social media is a tool and designed to rob you of your time, to change your behavioral patterns, to stop you doing the things that may now be causing you pain, or maybe time and attention that you should have been paying, or I'm not saying should have been, or could have been paying to other pastimes. We've put aside and concentrated our efforts on maybe creating a virtual farm on Facebook, you know, like Farmville, or maybe we've been spending our time crushing candy for hours and hours and hours. Maybe we've been watching videos on YouTube on an endless loop until we realize that we haven't slept for 2 days. And all of this is by design to rob us of our attention, and that's what I was putting in put some of the articles in videos and stuff in this presentation to sort of make you very aware of what is going on. So anyway, it looks like we've only got one person watching now on Facebook. So with that note, guys, if or not you enjoyed this stream, it's very hard to gauge with so fewer viewers, but we are going to wrap that up now, because as I said, there's almost no point of carrying on. And look at that, almost just like on YouTube with the Gusset girls, there was one person watching and now there's 3. But as I said, guys, this has been a kind of long presentation anyway, so not as if we'd had more people, if we'd have been able to go live on YouTube and had sort of little bit more of the crew on hand watching, maybe we'd have had a good old chat about what we saw afterwards. But it seems as though this sort of may or may not be some kind of targeted artificial attack on me. Perhaps I'm not saying it is, but I do have reason to believe that somehow, for the content I do share and try to bring out, that somehow the artificial intelligence that resides within my telephones or my cell phones that I use to make my videos are conspiring and plotting against me. If or not that makes me a radical conspiracy theorist, then I will gladly, hang on a minute, let me do it, I should have lined this up, wear my tinfoil hat with pride. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate those that did show me support and sticking through this presentation till the very end. And there was a little bit of effort, as I said, on a personal level put into tonight's presentation, but it's all practice. Each and every time I do this and put these together, I get a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable with what I'm doing, and hopefully we will overcome whatever artificial and virtual and electromagnetic obstacles are thrown in our way. And if or not our tinfoil hats are required, we will wait and see. But thanks guys, as I said, you've been a little bit of a rock keeping me company tonight. Otherwise I really would have been talking to myself when nobody's home. So let me just line this up for you. Good night guys. Thanks for watching Ship Video Productions, TSP TV. We are living in maybe we work on a Madonna cover version. Good night guys, thanks for watching. Take care, God bless, and be excellent to each other.